Thank you. Hearty welcome to today's keynote speaker, Naren ji, Mrinal, Bobby, Mark Jackelson, and I don't know the ratio of the radius of the what name is coming. So you are most welcome on today's meeting. Now I will not taking much time. I will be inviting Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, uh, Director Corporate and Youth Connect Rotary Club Pune Riverside, to welcome and introduce our keynote speaker, Naren Godwani ji. So over to Ganesh ji.
Thank you very much, Colonel Mishra. And it's a real pleasure for me to introduce somebody who's probably one of my mentors, best friends in Pune. And a real pleasure for me that he's here to talk to us today. Just as a little background, I must tell you that I first met Naren because of Social Venture Partners. And he was one of the first people who joined the collaborative. And I didn't know him at that time. And I really didn't understand what he would contribute. But the very first project we did, which is an outstanding entity which trains slum women to be medical assistants, called Jagruti Seva Sanstha. So Naren happily took on the responsibility of mentoring that. And even today, Jagruti is one of the showcase projects for social activity worldwide for social venture partners. So he has done such a fantastic job, not only he, but also his wife Bharti, because they completely give their heart and soul into any enterprise. And even today, it's one of the proud projects of social venture partners in Pune. Apart from that, of course, Naren does amazing work. I mean, his Keep Moving movement is now a national phenomenon. And I was privileged once to speak at one of his events, which he does on Sunday mornings. And I mean, on a Sunday morning, early morning, to see thousands of people coming to listen to Naren was quite amazing. So when you listen to Naren, you will realize how inspiring he is. And last but not the least, I'm glad that Naren is also very much part of the Aspen Institute's program in Pune. Aspen actually set up something called a multi-stakeholder advisory group, which I am on, as well as Naren and quite a few others. And that, as you just heard from Kalal Mishra, is not only doing the smaller mentoring program, which Neeruji has very kindly supported from the Rotary Club, but also a very large program partnered by Accenture globally, which is looking at 20,000 slum youth across Pune and trying to make them find meaning in life through employment and entrepreneurship. So again, Naren is very much part of it. So you've read the biodata, so I will not embarrass him by reading anymore. But Naren, thank you very much for coming and look forward to listening to you as always.
Thanks, Ganesh. I mean, it's very, very kind of you to speak about me and in all these words. The truth is, I consider Ganesh my mentor, and I've learned so much from him. And every time we interact, there is so much to learn from him. Let's have a little different kind of a meeting today. Normally, let's say, we would expect the speaker to speak for some time. Let me begin by tickling your brains a little. Many of you would have heard this guy called Bob Marley. He had some extraordinary songs, Reggae Champion, Buffalo Soldier, the song that he sung, moved the world. There's a small experience of his life which always inspires me. Bob Marley was supposed to have the biggest concert of his life. And the night before the concert, somebody came and pumped 4 bullets in his stomach. Obviously, he was hospitalized, lost a lot of blood, and the concert was about to be cancelled. And Bob Marley just said, "No, I think I'll still do the concert." When the organizers said, "But you are sick, you are hurt, you have been pumped with bullets, you will die, you are profusely bleeding. We can't take a chance like this with you." And Bob Marley said, "If hatred thinks that it can stop love, then hatred is mistaken. I'm born to sing, I'm born to entertain. And if I have to die on the stage of the concert, so be it. There cannot be a better death for me. But I am not going to let a little of hatred stop the much love which flows through my heart." And every time I think about this small anecdote from Bob Marley's life, I ask myself what kind of a person he must be. What kind of a drive he would have. I mean, 4 bullets, and he still took a whole concert. He sang for 2 hours. Of course, after that, he couldn't recover for almost 25 days. But he said, I can't disappoint my people who have traveled, who have planned, who have dreamt about this concert. So love has to triumph no matter what. And then when a reporter asked, were you not in acute pain? How is it that you could still go ahead and take that program? Bob Marley said a brilliant statement. And that is the statement on which I want all of you to express your views. Bob Marley said, you never know how strong you are unless being strong is the only choice you have. You never know how strong you are unless being strong is the only choice you have. Now, my dear friends over here, what are your thoughts on that thought? Let's have a small interaction. You never know how strong you are unless being strong is the only choice you have. Did you ever have an occasion to live this statement? Do you think it's not practical? Do you think it can happen sometimes, but this cannot be the philosophy of life? Any thoughts on this?
May I?
Yes, please go ahead.
I think that's the only way to live. If you're not challenging yourself every single day, there's no excitement left. And if there's no excitement left, I mean, how do you live? You are just passing time, you're not living.
Yeah.
You have to take up a challenge every single day, which is something which you've not done in the past. And do it that day. I mean, that is what is going to make your day, and that is what is going to make you feel that you lived that particular. That's the way I feel.
Okay. Would anybody else like to express? Yes, Ashwini.
Yeah, I think that this statement is absolutely true. I have seen it happen. I have been part of some of this at some stage of the other of my career. Because I think we don't really understand the inner strength that we have. And we have phenomenal inner strength. We are limited by our own beliefs. And that is why we limit ourselves to what we are. But truly speaking, the inner strength that we have, it is way beyond. Possibly Marley understood this aspect of it. And many of us are actually ignorant to this aspect.
Absolutely. Very interesting.
May I?
Yes, Umesh, please go ahead.
Yeah. So when we have the tough time and have the biggest failure, that is the most testing time, that how much stronger we are. And by facing those troubles and all that tough time, and we come out of those troubles, then we really understand that how much strong we are.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such an ironical word, but I was a judge in a beauty contest about 4 weeks ago. And it was an online beauty contest. And there's a lady called Rakhi Parwal who came as one of the contestants. Now, Rakhi stays in a very, very small town in Madhya Pradesh. And from there, she was extremely well dressed. She had this beautiful headgear. If anyone of you is very fond of these live music concerts, there's this lady called Harshdeep Kaur, who sings very well, who always comes with this beautiful headgear which the Sardarnis wear. Now, Rakhi Parwal was also there with that headgear. And out of curiosity, one of my fellow judges asked her that while everybody has different formats of hair, everybody else is decked up differently, how come as a lady, you are hiding your hair and you have put a turban-like thing on top? Rakhi just took the turban off and she was bald. And she said, I am just recovering from cancer. And we were stupefied. We didn't know what else to ask her after that. And we said, when was your last chemo? She said, about 2 weeks ago. And day after tomorrow, I am going for my next shot. In between cancer treatment, this lady is appearing in a beauty contest. She's going through chemotherapy. She's completely lost her hair. And she appears in a beauty contest. And we asked her, did you ever have a regret that you lost your hair? She said, not at all. Before the chemotherapy started, I did a photo shoot with my hair. And immediately after chemotherapy, when I started losing my hair, I didn't wait for cancer to remove my hair. I just shaved myself bald. And I did my second round of photo shoot with bald Rakhi. I said, how do you bring this inner strength? She said, I have 2 children. I have a supportive husband. What is the option? Why would I choose weakness as an option? Strength is always an option. And then she said something which literally made everybody cry. She said, if you know any Indian woman, you will see she always lives as a picture of strength. In our country, men might go through weakness every now and then, but women are a picture of strength. There is a financial turbulence in the house. Woman says, I will manage. There are guests at home. Woman will say, I will manage. An Indian woman is born out of strength and she lives out of strength. I am only doing what every Indian woman does every day of her life. Rakhi, in those moments, became a great inspiration to me. And in the last few weeks, since I have met her, there has not been a single program where I could speak without mentioning about Rakhi. There was a college where I was the chief guest and we had about 3,000 people online, which included all the students, some of the alumni members. And there when I spoke with Rakhi, I said, if any one of you wants to pass on some message to Rakhi, or you want to talk with Rakhi, or if you want to take the photo shoot photos, I can share it with you and you can send me the message and I'll send it back to Rakhi. I got 6 messages from people saying, we have somebody at home with cancer. We have no idea what is the internal pain they are going through, but we had become weak. Now I realize this is not the time for me to be weak. This is the time for me to be super strong. And I will ensure I will have festivities inside my house instead of anxiety, sadness, and depression in my house. One story, Rakhi Parwal. I know of at least 6 lives which has got transformed. That is what we mean when we say, you light that little lamp and thousands, hundreds of suns will rise. One of the strongest ways to learn is by seeing a role model. One of the most profound and deepest ways by which we change is when we see somebody living that kind of a life, where we get inspired and we say, yaar, aisa zindagi jeena hai. A part of that person's life should become mine. Of course, when you see Virat Kohli on TV, you think, let me also play cricket like that. He earns 200, 300 crores through ads. We also get inspired. Yaar, itna paisa apne ko bhi kamana hai. And when you listen to a Rakhi Parwal, somewhere we also desire, I also want to live life out of strength. When you listen to a Bob Marley and you know the backstory about 4 bullets in his stomach, and yet that guy goes and takes a 2-hour concert. These people, the way they live their life, they are living examples of, you light that little lamp, you just do that your little bit, and hundreds of suns will rise in its place. Often people have this question, I am doing just that little, the issues are so big. How do we solve it? All solutions begin in a very small way. So when I was saying that every time I meet Ganesh, interact with Ganesh, there is something that I learn. Today I learned about how Zoom got started, how a small experience in China and somebody saying I hate WebEx could instigate a person to say, yeah, if I am a part of a project which people hate, that's not the best way to live life. Let me create something which would be very useful to people and they would love to use. And he did this little bit. And today, during the pandemic time, if the whole world had some kind of momentum, Zoom has definitely played. And they had no idea that their product would be so useful to millions, if not billions of people on this planet. I'm a very, very big believer in the lighting of the lamp. The biggest of darknesses can be defeated by the smallest of the lamps. To defeat a huge darkness, I don't need huge light. Smallest of lamp and the biggest of darknesses are defeated. I'm sure if you ever get a chance to interact with each other on an informal basis, there will be so many stories from each person's life, your life, where you would recollect moments where you stood up, you were counted, you did your bit, you extended your help, and in turn, lives got transformed. Neeru offering this beautiful grant to GYON to work with the youth in the slum communities. Neither Bobby, nor Mrinal, nor Ganesh, nor Neeru probably know. In that cohort, there might be one person whose life might get completely transformed through this beautiful initiative and effort done by GYON at one end and Neeru at the other end. So you light your little lamp. I will light my little lamp. And I'm sure hundreds of suns will rise. You know, if you ever go to Gangotri, and some of you might have traveled there, at the origin, what is the size of the river? It's insignificantly small, maybe a little more than tap water. But when this Ganga reaches Calcutta, it is 1.5 kilometers wide. What started as that little, lot of people kept on joining. You know, that small tributary never asks, what will I do alone? How far is the ocean? It just does its job. So small or big, impactful or little, I promise you that I will always keep lighting lamps. And like Sandeep ji was saying, a new challenge, a new opportunity, little contribution, and everything in life seems worth it. The Rotaries are already doing so much, and I'm sure many of you would be already a sun and not just a lamp. And I wish all the best to every member present here, that may you continue to do great work and continue to inspire hundreds and thousands and millions of our countrymen. India needs millions of these lamps. And if you and me can do our role, very soon we will see India right at the top of the world. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come and share a few of my thoughts with you. I enjoyed being with all of you. Over to you, Colonel K.C. Mishra.
Thank you very much. Indeed, it was mind-blowing. And I will request Dr. Ganesh Natarajan to moderate the session. Still time is there. There may be so many questions. Yeah. So anybody, if I have some, yeah. Now over to Dr. Ganesh Natarajan.
Yeah, and then Naren, it'll be nice for us, especially since many of us are from Pune. You can talk a little bit about the life school, what you really do, and I know your whole family is involved in that, and also about the Keep Moving movement. I think it's such an amazing movement, and how you've mobilized young and old people to really look for a happy morning and a happy life. It'll be interesting for us to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah. So first of all, we normally wish people by the prefix of happy. So happy morning, happy afternoon, happy evening. Because irrespective of the mood in which we are, when you have to say the word happy, it's very difficult to say it with sadness. You know, good morning can be just thrown across, and like I heard Aditya shortened it further to only morning. So his idea was you add whatever emotions you want. I will just give you that word morning. But we like to call it as happy morning, because the moment you say happy, something about us changes. Professionally, I am a life coach and a business coach. So that is what I do for my, can't call it bread and butter, but let's say green smoothies in the morning. And we have this very, very beautiful work called Keep Moving movement. It began in 2001 as 14 people. And at that time, we decided that life skills are such a critical part of any human being's life. And unfortunately, life skills are not being taught either at home or at school. And when children will go into an independent world, so after 10th, when they go out to their junior college, there's an independent world. Till 10th, you enter into a school and then you leave the school, morning to afternoon, you are inside the school. But that's not the case in the colleges. How about giving them some very powerful life skills by which whatever happens in their life, they will keep moving? So to cut a long story short, today we have about 700 volunteers across 100 plus cities in this country. Last year, we trained about 32,000 children. This year is supposed to be a leap year for us. This year, our plan is to impact at least 3 lakh children. We have had some extraordinary results out of this. Let me also share a very good news with a lot of pride with all of you. Government of India released a postal stamp in our honor, and 5 rupee stamp, calling it as the Keep Moving movement stamp. Students, housewives, industrialists, right from the Director General of DRDO to the biggest of architects and interior designers, they have all been a part of Keep Moving movement. We go to schools, we take a 7-session program with the children, and every session fills these children with tremendous strength within. You know, we have an education system today where if a child does not come in the top 10% inside the classroom, they may not be called good or smarter. So if a child gets 60-65%, the child is labeled as you are insincere, you're not hardworking, you're stupid, you're idiot, you will amount to nothing in your life. If 10% come and do well, they obviously have a great future. But what about the 90%? If these 90% are not powered and positive in life, what will happen to our country? So can we fill these 90% children with a lot of self-belief? Can we give them tools by which they can plan well, by which they can make great friends, by which they know how to learn better? Can they network well? All these small qualities, which are so crucial in the development of a human being, is taught to them inside the schools. Plus, when I go through a negative experience in life, for example, when somebody in my house has a disease, or I lose somebody to death, or I go through a big financial turbulence, or I fail in a big way in my life, in those moments when I'm down and out, how do I think? How should I think? How do I cope with failures? How do I cope with insults? When nobody believes in me, how can I still believe in myself? All these things are taught to children inside the schools. We do it with class 9th and 10th children. Umesh has been a part of Keep Moving movement for a few years. And we were blessed to have him as a part of it. And I would love it if more and more people join us, because this year we are going 10x. From 32,000, we have to reach at least 3 lakhs. And if we don't reach 1 million within the next 3 years, we won't be able to make a significant difference to our country. So the mission is, by the time it is 2024, we should be impacting 1 million lives every year through Keep Moving movement. Ganesh?
No, I think, thank you. That was truly useful. And I mean, it's really amazing the kind of work you do. And I've seen multiple sessions where people just get motivated, because I tend to agree with you, Naren. There is too much negativism in this world. And if we can all stay a little more positive, I think that will radiate more happiness around this world. No doubt about it. Questions, folks? Anything you'd like to ask, share, comment?
Ganesh, may I ask the question to Naren, please?
Hey, hi, Meher. Morning.
Hi, good morning. Naren, you're just such an inspiration, and it's so lovely to hear you first thing in the morning.
Thanks.
I wanted to ask you, you're doing such a fantastic job with the KMM.
Yeah.
Is there any way you feel that by training the trainer, which is the teachers, we will reach your million target or 5 million target much sooner?
Yeah.
Rather than directly with the children, or doing both, one of both,
Yeah. Meher, you are absolutely right. I mean, training the teachers who in turn train children inside this classroom has to be the way forward, especially if we want greater numbers and greater impact. The reason for that, one, definitely they are in touch with the school and the children. And two, our volunteers go take 7 sessions across 3.5 months. But these teachers are in the school for years together. So they know a little more history of the children. So they might be able to give much more relevant examples to the children out there. Yes. So this year in the beginning of March, we did a program with about 10,000 teachers. So we trained about 10,000 teachers and invited them to come and join us in this program. We are expecting about 500 of them to join. So this year we are going to make a first beginning in that direction. Let's see how it goes. Let's see what are the good things which happen. Let's see what are the wrinkles that we need to iron out. And in 3 years' time, that 1 million target will absolutely necessarily need these teachers' cooperation. Meher, you are absolutely right on.
Excellent. That's wonderful, Naren. Because I think that's the only way to make it sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody, if you can connect us with any teacher or any body of teachers, any groups of teachers, we would be more than glad. There is no money involved over here. This entire work is on a voluntary basis. The schools don't have to pay money. The students don't have to pay money. So in insignificantly small amount of money, a huge impact can be created. So
Great. Would love to. Thank you, Naren. Thank you.
Thanks, Meher.
May I? Naren, you are referring. So what is the take you have on the kind of education system we have today? If you would like to comment, please.
See, I believe the education system we have is fantastic. It has created great engineers, great architects, great scientists. And today, if India is marching ahead in the IT world, in the vaccination world, medicine world, it is because of the education we have received in the system. Having said that, there are certain aspects of education which are missing, like life skills, critical thinking, collaborative work, how to experiment and explore. All these aspects are missing, which is where people like you and me need to step in and do our job. And most of the schools, most of the government agencies are open to taking help from people. I think over a period of time with NEP in place and the right intentions in place, we are moving in the right direction and we will see some significant developments happening.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
if I can just add to that, Naren, I think I mentioned it in the SPP chat a couple of weeks back. And I remember I was on a flight from New York to Bombay with C.K. Prahlad. C.K. Prahlad, as all of you know, is one of the great gurus from India. And I was just thinking of a topic to chat with him. So I asked him exactly the same question, saying, what do you think of the education system in India? You've been an educator for the last so many years in America. And I expected that he would say, it's terrible, you must go to liberal arts, etc. He said, you must understand India has offered the best education system in the world. And he told me about the Gurukuls, where the children at the age of 10 and 12 literally are taken away for 4 years and their head is stuffed with all kinds of stuff which they don't understand. He says that is what makes the Indian brain expand, because there's so much stuffed into it. Later on in life, as you start kind of recirculating all that knowledge, then you learn better. So this thing of, we should teach a very little so that they first understand it, internalize it. He says that is exactly what limits your brain. Now, we can argue either way. But I mean, recently there was this question. I mean, what do you think about that, Naren? I mean, recently there was this announcement that for engineering, you don't need to have been educated in physics or maths. So many of us engineers are clutching our heads and saying, "Ye kya ho raha hai?" But maybe HRD ministry knows something better than we do. Who knows?
No.
So, I have now stopped discussions on the topic of education. Everybody knows.
That's a good culminating statement.
Any other thoughts?
Naren, one thing I just wanted to know, with all this happening around us, especially the pandemic and all that, would you say that people are looking at happiness as a transient and they are not understanding what happiness is all about?
So there are two words, and these are all semantics, right? It seems that the word quality has 10 different meanings in Japan. So to me, there are two words. One is happiness and the other is pleasure. Pleasure is something which is outside in, and happiness is something which is inside out. Pleasure, for that I need something: good food, good movie, good background like you have, the mountains behind. For this, all these gives me pleasure. Being with people gives me pleasure. After going for a jog, when I have a good cup of chai, it gives me pleasure. Happiness is when I stop resisting life. Stop resistance. When I practice complete acceptance, and in that moment when there is no resistance whatsoever, what I experience is happiness. So whether people have pleasures, whether people have happiness, as long as they live a good life, as long as we are helping each other, as long as we are ethical, as long as we can be that small lamp, whether it's pleasure or happiness, both are acceptable to me.
Thank you. Absolutely wonderfully put. Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, can I ask a question, Ganesh?
Yeah, please, Anuradha.
Yeah, one of my biggest concerns have been is that, there are millions of families which unfortunately live in a very hard conditions. Yeah. I'm not talking poverty as one factor alone, but the addictions of the family members,
yes,
the hardships women undergo,
yes,
joint families, lack of space, the fights amongst the... So what happens is that I think mental health of the children, I think it's definitely affected because of the circumstances. Otherwise, you tell me one thing, why would a 15-year-old boy rape a girl? He would grow up to marry a nice girl and live a happy life. Why? The circumstances at home are so bad, they override all the education and the inputs and positivity lessons you give it to them. So what is that we can do about it now? Tell me.
Thanks, Anuradha. First of all, this delicate topic of rape. I believe rape is never about sex. Sex is available much cheaper without any risks. Rape is about power. Rape is about making somebody feel helpless. Rape is about taking somebody's dignity away from them. So first of all, rape is not about sex. Rape is about making somebody feel that they are useless and worthless. we live in a world where sometimes all that we see is exploitation. And the dirty word is exploitation. If we have enough parks, if we have enough open spaces for these children to come and play, you will find their mental health much better. I have been to the slums, and Anuradha, you will be glad to know every year I go and sleep for one night in a slum. That is my way of understanding what is it that they go through. I don't visit the slum. I sleep for one night in the house of the poorest person I know. I remember a few years ago when I discussed this with Meher, and Meher said, next time whenever you are going, I would like to also come. And in case you take children, I would like to send my children also with you. And my children also do the same. They go and sleep for one night in the slums. Let me tell you, the resilience of people inside the slums is very high. They don't need a 3 BHK or a bungalow for them to feel comfortable. Even in the small space in which they live, they are very comfortable. However, the issue lies, let's say, at our levels of the society, because of which they feel exploited. No, we have a 5-day week. Saturdays and Sundays are off for most of us. I don't know if our housemates have a 5-day week. I don't know if our drivers have a 5-day week. Forget about earned leave, sick leave, casual leave. Forget about Diwali holidays, where the office is closed for 5 days and 7 days. In this scenario, when we in turn end up exploiting people, they in turn have to dump their emotions somewhere. Emotions are never buried dead. They're always buried alive. And they're always longing to come out. So if I scream at the watchman, and I've seen this happening, there is a place, let's say my house is D101 Landmark Garden, and I have a parking space. Somebody else comes and parks their car there. The poor watchman comes running and says, "Sir, yahan park mat karo, ye dusre saab ka hai." First, the guy in the Benz or a BMW might say, 5 minutes mein aaya, and we know he's going to come into us. They have no hesitation in telling a lie. And then they end up saying, "Tumko kya karne ka karo? Main nahi hatayega yahan se. Tum ho kaun? Tumhari auqat kya hai?" You know, a little knowledge, some money makes us arrogant, and we end up exploiting these poor people. Now, when they are exploited, what will they do? What will be their thought process? What is the hope that they have? Who's going to mold them? Who's going to hold their hands? Who's going to mentor them? And I'm sure Bobby must be experiencing this so many times when he goes to the slums and talks to the kids over there. So if exploitation ends at our level, let's just begin with ourselves. If we can ensure there is no exploitation at our end, and we become that lamp, in turn, a few families will get lifted, because all of us take service from enough poor people. So the person who washes the car is a person. The person who waters the garden is another person. The peon at our office, the watchman of it. We are around a lot of poor people whose services we are taking. In case we can lift them and we become that lamp, slowly this darkness which is there in every house has to get eliminated, and it will be replaced by happy sunshine. So I'm sure it's not about resources, because everybody, their own capacity, their capabilities, and the way you work is what you earn. But if we can stop exploitation, I think we can turn the tide around. That's what my thought is, Anuradha.
Thank you very much,
Naren. I think that's very, very, very interesting. I think it's something that we can all follow very easily, I would say. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Naren. It's mind-blowing, and we are blessed to have you today's morning session. And thank you, Ganesh, for connecting wonderful speakers like you. In fact, it's amazing. To you and to you and Ganeshji. Thank you very much. Before proceeding further, I would like to invite Mrinal for throwing light on our project. So over to Mrinal.
Thank you, Colonel Mishra, and thank you, Naren. That was really inspiring and amazing, and it's always a pleasure to hear you. And it gives all of us, I think, some insights every day on what we need to do in life, especially me. Thank you so much. So I'll talk a little bit about Global Opportunity Youth Network. So this was started by Aspen Institute in the USA, and it has got 6 international partner organizations: Global Development Incubator, Youth Build International, Prudential, Accenture, and Catholic Relief Services. And Lighthouse Communities Foundation is the anchor partner for GeoVine in Pune. And we run this program, which is a 10-year program for youth between the age of 15 and 30 who are either out of education, out of employment, or out of training. So the idea is to bring about a transformation which is citywide through collaborative action and collective action. And Rotary Club has been very kind enough to support one of our pilot projects for mentorship for youth from the Hadapsar and the Yeravda communities, where we would be tying up mentors and mentees, where the mentors would be mentoring the mentees to understand their career paths, give them guidance, give them direction about what they need to do in life, and also help them sustain through the process of training and seeking employment. So the idea behind this is to have mentors from the community itself, who the mentors look up to, who have done very well in their lives, have risen from their own circumstances, instead of having people like us go and give them so-called gyan about what they need to do. So we are really looking forward to this project, and this will kickstart on 1st of April. And we've identified the mentors and the mentees as well. And it's a 6-month project where there would be face-to-face meetings as well as online meetings held between the mentors and the mentees. And at the end of it, we hope to get all these youth placed in some kind of jobs or help them with entrepreneurship. So thank you very much, Colonel Mishra, and a big thank you to Guruji for supporting this project. And
thank you very much.
Making
and from Rotary Club,
many more coming up.
In fact, initiative was taken by none other than Dr. Ganesh Natarajan. So I would like to request Dr. Ganesh Natarajan to throw light on this. Over to Ganesh.
No, thank you, Colonel. I think this is actually a very inspiring global movement. I'm sure all of you have heard of Aspen Institute in Washington, D.C. They are known for doing great work. And when we first met, a gentleman called Jamie, who was the CEO of the Aspen Institute, and he spoke to us about opportunity youth. My first question was, what does this word opportunity youth mean? Okay, none of you have asked this question. See, because when we talk about underprivileged youth, slum youth, poor youth, you're automatically labeling them, almost like what Naren said earlier. When you call them opportunity youth, these are youth who have unlimited opportunities in life. And I think that is, even the terminology is so distinctive. So we are very thoroughly inspired. In fact, we have a weekly 1-hour session with the global team of Opportunity Youth. And now they are operating in Africa. They have some interesting project in Mombasa, in Bogota, in Colombia, just started in South Africa, starting in Brazil. So it's really a global movement. So, and Rotary being a global organization, I was very, very keen that we should do it. And I know Rakesh ji has been a stellar support along with Colonel Mishra in trying to make this happen. And my hope is that, as I said, the whole Margdarshan idea, that if we can show the way with 40 opportunity youth, as I mentioned, there are probably, close to 4 lakh opportunity youth in this city itself. So we can start something which we'll be very proud of maybe 5-10 years down. So I'm truly delighted that we are doing this as a youth project. And hopefully over the next 2 years, we will see a lot of progress in this area, not only within Riverside, but around the Rotary Club community and hopefully across Pune.
Thank you, Ganeshji. In fact, I would like to extend very big thank to Rakeshji. When this project was, proposed by Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, the big challenge which we were looking forward was the ownership. Somebody from Rotary Club should take the ownership and take it forward till the end. And Rakeshji volunteered, and from that day, what Ganeshji has already said, stalwart. So he took initiative. He collaborated with Mrinal, Bobby, Ruchi, and Ganeshji and me. And finally, if I say it's a credit from Rotary Club Pune Riverside to Rakeshji, so it would not be, it would be really appropriate. So thank you, Rakeshji, for taking proactive lead and taking the ownership. Most important, taking the ownership. In fact, we are blessed to have members of Rotary Club Pune Riverside. We do not have the problem of the funding. The problem is only understanding. If some project appeals to some of the members, so our member itself support financially, whether it be anybody. And Niruji is one of them who is not doing this only. She has done the Care for Air. She has expended more than 7.5 lakhs. She has done one project, Ladli, where she has supported with 10 lakhs the sanitary napkin going to provide the school girls and the underprivileged society. Not many things has come up. So I am particularly, as a president, I am very happy, and I feel top of the world that this complete team, initiative taken by the Ganeshji, lead from Rotary Club Pune Riverside taken by Rakeshji, and finally, Mrinal, Ruchi, Bobby, of course, heads up. My grand salute to all of you, and it's going to take off. It's matter of pride for all of us. Thank you very much. Thank you once again. So before going for formal vote of thanks, I have one more thing to do. In fact, some guests have joined a little late. So once again, I would like to extend warm welcome to Mrinal, Bobby, Mark, Asik Rizvi, Meher Padmji, Kumar Gera, and Rajenji. Thank you very much. Thank you so very much that you have spared your valuable time and make it convenient to join us today morning. So, not taking much time, I am personally, benefited by the talk of Narenji. It's amazing. In fact, when I was I was coordinating with Narenji, so we have a lot of interaction on how to go about topic and all that. But I was not I was excited that he is going to make something different. And what we have heard today, it's really stunning. It's really inspiring, and it's mind blowing. And simply, from my side, it's speechless. So, my grand salute to you, Narenji. And for extending formal note of thanks, I would like to request and I invite Group Captain Ashwini Kumar Bhaku, Visit Seva Medal, to do this honor. So, over to Group Captain Ashwini Kumar Bhaku.
Thank you, Colonel Mishra. And when you say the formal vote of thanks, it effectively means that we are coming to the end of the meeting, which I'm not very happy to see the end of this discussion with Narenji. I think we have much more to learn from him, much more to take away from him. And frankly speaking, I have joined Rotary just last week, truly speaking, though I've been working with Rotary earlier in other projects and things like that. And Narenji, I for one am looking forward to extending or being part of this project, especially with Mrinal and Bobby. It would be my pleasure and in my way of lighting that little lamp, to take something forward in whatever capacity that I have. So having said that, thank you really very much, Narenji, for coming here, for being part of this, for extending, and giving us this insight And I truly believe in what you have said of lighting that lamp and the darkness would fade away. I truly believe in that. I agree with that. I have seen brilliant examples of this in my own career. One example is there in Pune, which Rotary honored last year also. I mention this because for the last about 15 years, I've been a part of that. And that is an NGO called Connecting. This is a suicide prevention program. This is again started by somebody, one single person, 2, 3, 4 friends, and over the last few extending and helping others. So thank you very much for being here today, Mrinal, Bobby, and all the other guests, and especially Niraj for giving us this. Ganesh, thank you very much for making this happen. And Colonel Mishra, thank you for having this here on the platform today. So I know the meeting has to come to end, but I do look forward to Narenji being with us many more times in the future. Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Narenji, once again.
Thank you very much. And there are two more things. In fact, before meeting is adjourned, one is Rotary Club Pune Riverside has a healthy tradition, and Narenji will be remembering because he has come in past also. They're cracking up the joke by one of the members. So today and we treat it as a tonic of the day. So I invite Rotarian Sandeep Best to correct the joke and give us tonic for the day. Over to Sandeep ji.
Thank you, Colonel Sahab, and good morning, everybody, once again. When Narendra ji was talking of that strength, your own strength, you only realize if that is the only option you have left in your life. So I got reminded of something, which I heard long back when I was probably maybe about 7-8 years back. So there was this very young, very rich guy. He wanted a driver for his car. So he put up a notice, 4 people turned up. So he said, okay, let me find out who is the right one for me. So he calls the first one and says, okay, here is the swimming pool. How close to the swimming pool can you take the car? So he says, okay, I can take it about 2 meters close to the swimming pool. He says, okay, the next one, he says, I can take it about 2 feet in the periphery of the swimming pool. The third one, he says, I can take it almost to the swimming pool, just about maybe 2 inches away from there. The fourth one starts walking away. He says, why are you leaving? He says, I don't think I stand a chance. He says, why? He says, I am so scared of doing things like this that I would never take it close to a swimming pool. He says, you are hired. I'm looking for somebody safe like you.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. In fact, before meeting is adjourned, it's my pleasure and privilege to announce one more thing. From 1st July onward, our weekly club meeting is always scheduled on Wednesday 8:30, and we have not missed even a single meeting, and that all meetings have been online. And we are blessed to have speakers globally, and the variety of the topics and subjects, and they have their delivery of the talk has benefited us very largely. So in that series, next week we are going to have keynote speaker Murdula Sankhyan, Chief Executive Officer Global Talent Track, on the topic Dare, Dream and Do. I am repeating the topic Dare, Dream and Do. It's going to be really very interesting on coming Wednesday, March 2021 at 8:30. So I request all members to please block your date and time and make it convenient to join in large number. So yes, we have come to the end now, and it's 9:01. So on time we start and on time we conclude. So if I have the permission of Narenji, I would like to end the meeting.
Yes, please.
Thank you. And once again, Jai Hind, and very good morning to all of you. Thank you very much. So nice of you. Thank you.